Hello, hello, hello. We're here. We're live. We're cooking now. Welcome, welcome. Oh, we do got to follow. 120 Daniel. Thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. If Appreciate the follow. Hello, my name is Ish. I am a future cybersecurity specialist, hopefully, as long as everything goes well. So, welcome. Alright. So, I ended up doing some major changes to the channel and stuff like that over the last night, I guess. And for some reason, my stream's still saying that I'm dropping frames. I apologize. Give me just 1 second here. I test this shit beforehand too, and all that. For some reason, god damn it. Let me see if I can just adjust myself. Here we go. All right. So, there's gonna be a little bit of scuff. I apologize in advance, but this is hopefully the first of many streams that are gonna be like this for a while now. The intent is to basically start looking into cybersecurity, technology, you know, stuff that's kind of more, I feel like, kind of, I'm gonna turn off now music real quick. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Start doing a primary focus on trying to get more limelight on the whole cybersecurity front. Trying to make sure that you know, it's being looked at a lot more. Try to, anyways. At least try to see if we can help make sure that there's a little bit more limelight put on it, because I feel like a lot of times it just kind of gets pushed to the side and not realize that there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world other than just what's going on in politics, I guess. So the intent here is to try to at least see what we could do about helping out, trying to educate, trying to inform what's going on and stuff like that. And we'll still do gaming and stuff like that every now and again, but the main focus right now is going to be just on the news end and stuff like that, which I'm currently in the works right now and on some project stuff as far as like how I want to do my content and stuff like that, as far as like YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, you know, all that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're on those socials and stuff like that as new stuff's coming out and stuff. So but yeah, a lot of other stuff we've been working on. Obviously the model got updated again. I just got done updating it, I think it was like last month or something like that, but we decided that it'd be the good time to probably go ahead, and since we're changing a lot of the course with what we're working on right now and stuff, so figure this way, then this would be a good opportunity to try to not necessarily rebrand, but mostly just to reflect the new direction, I guess, in a way. So hopefully this will be a good way of looking at it and try to see if we can make things work the way hopefully that we want to make it work, or the way at least I want to make it work. So I will be still working on some, you know, overlay stuff over the next couple months and stuff like that, obviously. Trying to update some new stuff, and then also try to fix a lot of the things that are currently being the major issues right now, like trying to improve my computer performance and stuff like that will be a major thing. Trying to not make it so laggy and stuff like that would be a major pog. I also changed off of the Yeti for a little while because I've been noticing that the audio from it has been garbage. So what I went ahead and did was switch it over to my regular mic off of my headset for right now until I can get the audio figured out on my Yeti. And it may be just because of the fact that I'm in a very open room. It's not very like soundproofed or anything like that, so it might be screwing with that just a little bit. So but we'll work on it. Try to see if we can get that thing back up and going. If not, it's not that big a deal. I think the mic that I have on this headset will work for our current intent. So, and go from there. So, the couple of other things I will say, and like I said, I'll be working on some overlay stuff, trying to get stuff a little bit more cleaned up a little bit, because obviously this isn't probably going to be what it's going to be permanently. And of course, I will be updating either on Twitter or on TikTok and YouTube about that as well and stuff like that as things become changed and new and stuff like that. So I am going to hang out real quick. Let me see if I can. Oh, make sure everything's popping up just fine. Let me check my performance real quick and make sure everything's all kind of working out right. So what's chewing me up right now? Looks like OBS is most of my chew up right now, but that's fine. Okay. I'm gonna be obviously gonna be taking a look at that every now and again. So I apologize if I like pause mid-second or whatever to look at it and make sure everything's okay. But for right now, I think we'll be okay. I think it's just the frame drop every now and again. I may have to drop down quality a little bit just to make sure that I can do what I'm trying to do, and then try to readjust some of the stuff, because I want to try to get it to where this is like much more proficient and stuff, because I do see every once in a while dropping from 60 to like 58 frames per second every now and again. So hoping that over time and stuff like that we'll get everything over adjusted and figured out. So our primary intent tonight is we're going to be, I have a bunch of articles that I've already kind of curated and stuff like that through a couple of different websites. We're going to be go ahead and reading over it and just kind of discussing it and stuff like that, trying to figure out like what's the key getaways from everything here. I also tried my best to, because a lot of cybersecurity and I guess a lot of like the news and stuff like that nowadays is very political and stuff like that. And I'm going to try my best to curate based off of what's more impactful to the people itself, or just who's around, I guess, versus like being involved in politics in itself. Like this one's kind of a bad one to start off with, because obviously it's dealing with defense contractors and stuff like that from the United States and stuff. But I felt like this kind of resonated a little bit more, because we can start to kind of look at, see what governments or what groups are doing to try to counter back against a lot of the cyber attacks that I've been having recently. And we've had some major ones. Like, I kid you not, I think in the last probably good 6 to 8 months, we've been really getting slammed hard with like major attacks. A couple of them in particular I'll be going over today, and then I will do my best to probably try to see if I can make some YouTube and TikTok videos about some of the other stuff. If not, then I will probably save them for Monday's stream. I will be and I'll also make a point too to say that I will still be streaming Monday through Friday. I just probably won't be. I'm gonna try to see if I can stream for at least an hour and a half a night, just to kind of go over everything for the day, or even just new stuff that's happened and stuff like that, and then also maybe watch a little educational video every now and again and stuff, and then we'll mix it up every once in a while with either a game or maybe watch some memes. I don't know. We'll figure some stuff out. I want to try to not just stay strictly to like one thing. I want to try to venture into a little bit of everything kind of thing, but I think for the most part, I think just trying to keep my main focus on cybersecurity was just splendid. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and I also do have an educational video saved up. What I'm gonna do for today is we're gonna go over as many of these as possible. I'm gonna try to kind of not be quick, but try to be very informative and try to get everything that needs to be talked about. And then depending on how much time it is, because the educational video I have in choice is a 20-minute video, so I'm gonna try to go through everything as I can, and then I'll save the video for the last part of the stream, so that way then hopefully by then we'll be kind of koshered out and stuff. So without further ado, all right, let's go ahead and start with this one. So we got a $10 million bounty on an Iranian hackers for cyber attacks on U.S. government defense contractors. 4 Iranians have accused of hacking into critical systems of Department of Treasury and states, and dozen of private U.S. companies. Okay. Okay. Let me preface a lot of this stuff before I start here real quick. So, I am still kind of new to the whole cyber thing. I have been doing some practice over the last couple months. Actually better part of the year, at least, as far as like getting into ethical hacking. A lot of the stuff that I've been going into specifically is penetration testing. And for those that don't know what that means, it basically is just like I am a very oriented towards like being a red hat, which is basically ideally just somebody who actually is like going into pen tests to basically check systems, make sure they're actually up to snuff. If they are not up to snuff, then I inform the company and stuff like that that they're, hey, by the way, this is the exploit that I use, this is that and the other, blah blah blah. Obviously a lot more risk in it, and you do have to be probably more than like, well, I mean, for the most part you have to be with the company and have to have special contracts with it and stuff, but I feel like it's a lot more of a challenge, especially for me as somebody who is very much much of a I'm very independent minded. Very much a person who enjoys being like to myself. So being a pen tester and stuff like that is pretty ideal in that. I mean, obviously you'll still work with a team and stuff like that every now and again, or even just um, work in coordination with people. But the biggest thing is just I want to be able to like test myself, try to actually see if I could pull stuff off that I know um, very more educated hackers could probably get into and stuff like that. But I want to see what I can throw my hat in the ring, no pun intended, to see what I could do. But again, I'm still uneducated a lot. There's going to be a lot of things that I still don't quite know. A lot of what I'm going to be reading through and stuff like that is just in the direction of more of informity and to just kind of talk over certain parts. And even if I don't know anything specifically, I will do my best to research it while we're streaming and stuff like that, and kind of get a better understanding of it, or hopefully get a better grasp of it. So that way, then I can be a better person to try to like educate, and also try to not just educate everyone, but educate myself as well in the process. And hopefully over time become better at it. So that way, then we can start working together to try to make sure it gets cleared out or helped. Make people more informed and stuff like that. So. The accused still at large are accusing of targets and hacking into critical systems at the Department of Treasury and states, and more than a dozen private U.S. companies with access to defense-related information. 4 Iranians, Hussein Harouni, I'm going to butcher these. I am so sorry. I'm just going to try it anyways. Razan Kasmirfar, Kome Baran Samali, and Alreza Safi Nazba are accused of participating in malware operations using spear phishing and other hacking techniques to harvest hundreds of thousands of corporate and toilet accounts. So, the use of spear phishing is, I guess, also pretty common, especially with structures that are very much more like more structurally sound, but not like super like straight, I guess. I'm going to try the best way to explain this, at least in the way that I understand of it. But basically, when somebody's using spear phishing specifically, especially against critical systems and stuff, it usually ends up to where they're in there trying to do what they can and then just get out there as quickly as possible. But the fact that they were able to harvest thousands of corporate employee information and stuff like that, I would be kind of curious to see like how long it took them to actually do that, because it's kind of mental. The fact that these 4 gentlemen here, I wouldn't probably say, I mean, they're gentlemen, obviously, they're people. The fact that these 4 guys probably took some time to really kind of go through this, probably what these specific companies and stuff like that, and just kind of got at least a good understanding of like what's going on, just in that way then they can do this operation and stuff like that. Like it's not always just a random thing either. It's people coordinating this kind of stuff. During their campaign against one victim, the group compromised more than 200,000 employee accounts. In addition, campaigns. In another campaign, the conspirators targeted 2,000 employee accounts. That's what Department says. 200,000 employee accounts. That's kind of bonkers. A lot of those are usually put into databases and stuff like that, so that way then they can't access those. But apparently they were able to snatch them all like that. That's kind of crazy. The conspirators compromised an administrative email account belonging to the defense contractor. And see, this is probably the wild part here. So the fact that just getting access to one defense contractor email, or even just any sort, just being able to do that, I'm sure that guy's fired, obviously, because the fact, or I don't know if he would be fired unless he obviously didn't have like a really strong password or some sort of credentials got through that shouldn't have, obviously, but still pretty mental. Just one guy legitimately just like really just did not. I don't know. To get to 200,000, that's mental. Access to this admin account empowered the conspirators to create unauthorized accounts, which the conspirators used to send spear phishing campaigns to employees, to different defense contractors, and confirm. Okay, so from what I'm reading, this is basically they just took over this one guy's account, used the one guy's account to start the phishing frenzy against all these other defense contractors. Which phishing is in general is like obviously there's a lot of companies that will go ahead and do phishing campaigns, which is basically just check your emails. But if you're opening an email and opening any sort of like specific files and stuff like that from that, you shouldn't be, unless you know that is a trusted link. So like, for example, I'm gonna use this as just Google for an instance. Let me also adjust my mic. I think I'm a little quiet here. Um, so like, the biggest example would be like for Google. So let's say, for instance, Google's email, one of their Google main admins got hacked, and they just started spending out emails to corporate enemies, or emails saying out, he's like, "Oh, we have this meeting and stuff like that. I need you to fill out this form that I have on this document that I have attached. Have that downloaded and then send it back as soon as possible." Most times it doesn't end up like, I mean, it'll still be opened, and that's all it takes for that file to be like, "Yo, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and just do what I need to do, and then I'm gonna send that information directly back to that email, and then that email can go ahead and be used to send that information back out of that system and stuff." Which is, the fact that there was 200,000 employee accounts that did this is kind of boggling, because the fact that usually you would think that a lot of companies would be a lot more prevalent as far as how their phishing programs work and stuff like that, but I guess humans be humans kind of thing, I guess. So, the Justice Department accused the Iranians of employing additional social engineering techniques that included the impersonation of a woman to obtain the confidence of victims. Is that really something you want to be, like, really, like, going into, is the fact that that 4 guys tried to impersonate a woman to obtain the confidence of victims? So that's really what the angle you're going at, is that they're accusing them of just basically catfishing for these information and stuff like that. That's not good something to be on. These social engineering contacts were also meant to conspiracy used to deploy malware onto victims' computers and compromise those devices and accounts. According to unsealed indictments, the hacker group's private sector victims were primarily centered or cleared defense contractors, which are companies that have been granted security clearances by the U.S. Department of Defense to access, receive, and store classified information. The group was also accused of targeting a New York-based accounting firm and a New York-based hospitality company. So they not only got access to Department of Defense stuff, but they also were accused of going after an accounting firm and hospitality company, which is kind of wild. So they're obviously, for them to be going 3 different directions like this, at least from the way that it sounds, almost sounds like they had a plan. Like they legitimately were looking for something specific from these 3 spots specifically, and the fact that they went through New York based ones and stuff like that makes it feel like they were trying to aim for something like more, I don't know, more specific. The hackers identified as an indictment has been linked to the Iranian Organization of Electronic Warfare and Cyber Defense, which is a very prevalent group in current cyber information and technology and stuff like that, because they're very much a very regulatory, like they like to grab as much information they can off of any systems and stuff like that. They've had a couple notorious ones over the last couple years that they've gotten into and stuff like that, but they haven't gotten a whole lot. This is pretty big that they ended up managing it and what they got. So alongside the unsealed indictment the Department of State announced a $10 million reward for impersonation leading to their capture, and the Treasury Department imposes sanctions on the individuals involved. That's wild. The fact that the fact that the department, or the department is the State Department legitimately put out this bounty basically on these 4 guys specifically. Now it does say individuals, so that also means that there's $10 million for all 4 of them. So that's still wild. The fact that the department is like, yo, hey, we just got hacked, but we're going to just legitimately make these. And the fact that how many people are going to actually try to take advantage of this and try to actually find these guys. I'm so curious to see just how much of a goose chase is it going to be to just find these guys and get them, arrested and stuff like that. Especially um, if this was all done overseas and stuff like that, I think that would probably make things a lot muddier because obviously with the use of proxies and the use of more specifically like just very unique softwares that would make it harder to track and stuff, especially from larger groups like this group specifically. It's going to be a lot harder to find them, so the $10 million makes sense. Sorry, my ear is itchy. It looks like so weird on my model. Yeah, with a bigger group like this, the $10 million are definitely very reasonable. I'm curious though to see how long it takes to find these 4 individuals and to see how long it would take to get to that point. So the big takeaway from this, just make sure when it comes to phishing, please make sure that you're reading your emails or reading whatever information, regardless even on social media too, because there is phishing opportunities through social media specifically too. Please make sure that you're looking to make sure that if there is anything attached or anything that you think that is suspicious, please report that immediately to whoever in the social media market. So like Facebook has its own department for phishing attacks that they link to directly. Twitter does the same thing. TikTok, I'm not 100% sure if they do. I will do my best to research that and get back to you guys on that specifically, because I feel like phishing is a really big important thing for a lot of people to learn, like how to deal with it and how to approach it, because when you're talking emails, you're usually looking at trying to figure out like links and figuring out data or like downloads and all that kind of stuff. So looking for those specific targets or specific areas to be looking for is really key for phishing, because if you end up clicking on a wrong link and stuff like that, for like, let's say for instance you're doing a password recovery and by some dumb luck your password recovery ended up like coming at the same time as the phishing attack, and then you click the link, you end up losing that, you end up getting attacked, and usually it's very inconspicuous when they do phish. So you don't realize it unless A, your virus protector, notices it and just yells at you saying, hey, this is bad, we're going to quarantine this. Or if you're the unlucky folks that end up don't having a virus protector, then you won't know about it unless you like start realizing your computer's starting to run a little bit slower, or you start noticing that certain parts of your task manager, like I'll even show you here. So like one of the biggest things for you to be looking for whenever you're dealing with viruses is looking through your background processes and seeing like let's say for instance we'll say the spool. So common practice for a lot of virus people will do is use drivers as a good way of getting in and stuff like that. So like if I were to go ahead and check this spooler, because there are actually quite crazily enough zero days, which are very unique like entries into computers and stuff like that, especially Windows-based computers, that will use drivers as a way to get into your computer. So like if I said, let's say for this is spooler subsystem apps, if I go to properties, it will tell me in here typically what the information is, what's the licensing on it, what's the important information that I'd be looking for. Most times what I would be looking for is this specific description, and sometimes they'll even tell you like what the company is and stuff like that. This one doesn't, unfortunately, other than just it tells me the original file is spools.sv. So I could look this up on Google, and there's a couple different websites. I will do my best to, I think next stream I will make a note to check out some specific websites that will be really good resources to start looking into and start trying to figure out like some of the, if you need to look to see if some of these like specific drivers or specific files are like bad ones that you need to like look at and get cleared off, then you can. As far as removal and stuff like that, usually if you can usually, if you're lucky, if you can install even just a generic virus protector on your computer, even a free one, it will scan and clear viruses through its regular directory. Now, for continuous protections and stuff like that, obviously you'd have to pay for the service to be able to have that in the background and stuff like that, running processing and stuff like that. But if you're looking to remove a virus or anything like that, I would strongly suggest just grabbing a regular free virus protector, preferably something that's well known, like McAfee, Norton, a couple of the. I mean, Kaspersky's kind of. There's a couple virus protectors, and that's going to be probably another discussion for another day. That at least the virus protector itself will clear out the virus and stuff like that, and hopefully get your computer back up and going. But it's always good to be making sure that any installs or anything that you're clicking and stuff like that is a legitimate site, legitimate stuff. And also to a lot of different web browsers like Opera and Mozilla Firefox will notify you and let you know if there's bad like cookies, bad like resources and stuff like that on these sites and stuff like that too. So that's something to also keep in mind with as well. So just be more mindful and make sure that you're checking your emails and being very prevalent as far as like watching for very suspicious, very suspicious, very suspicious emails, and just do your best to keep your eye out on that. So. Alright, so we'll go ahead and move to our next subject here, which is, actually this is one of the major ones that I was wanting to talk about, because for those who aren't aware, so TeamViewer has been a long time secondary computer access point, and typically a lot of IT companies will use these specifically to access into computers without having to, you know, utilize Microsoft's option or to utilize different softwares. TeamViewer is typically free. There are paid versions of TeamViewer that you can utilize that has better access and has you can change around like how the ports are going through and stuff like that. So you can meticulously use TeamViewer to where then it's much more secure, but a lot of companies don't. They'll just use it to just get into the computer and then just do whatever they need to do and then keep TeamViewer on the computer itself, which is a very bad thing to do, because what TeamViewer does is basically it allows one person on the other side of the TeamViewer through the use of a password and a port to essentially remote into your computer and do whatever fixes they do without you having to do all the work for yourself. The problem with that is that the program itself usually will run still in the background sometimes, and it'll still leave that open door possibly available there. Because TeamViewer itself is a really nice software, but it also doesn't have the greatest security around it. So a lot of IT guys will usually, or a lot of IT people just in general, will go ahead and after they get done using TeamViewer, if they're using like the free version or the cheaper version and stuff like that, they'll uninstall it completely and then just use it to reinstall again later. Usually through software pushes through the servers themselves to that computer, so that way then they can remote in, uninstall it, back out, they're done and over with. So, which is an interesting way to do it. But so what we got here is that TeamViewer hack officially attributed to Russian spies. So yeah, so we'll just start talking about this because there's a lot of key information in here that will be explained. The remote connectivity software provider released last week that has been detected an intrusion on June 26th. So this is already, so as of right now, it is July 5th. June 26th would have been last Wednesday. So as of last Wednesday, from the time this was wrote, so it was written on the 1st, so out of the matter of 4 days, TeamViewer noticed that apparently there was an intrusion on their software. According to the follow-up statement, including the company on Friday, that over the weekend, the breach only impacted its internal corporate IT environment and did not affect its product environment, the TeamViewer connectivity platform, or any customer data. Okay, so this is a key thing. So this did not affect anything outside of their current so like it didn't affect anything like outside of its own battlefield basically. So a lot of people who are using TeamViewer right now should not be affected by anything in relation to what's going on here specifically. But it is good to keep in mind that through the use of the software and stuff like that, the fact that it still entered the corporate IT environment is not great either, because then whatever information that they were utilizing to be able to remote into these computers and stuff like that, specifically whether it be softwares or using other methods to access computers. If this information gets out through this environment, then that's more opportunities for hackers to be able to utilize that information to create more backdoors and stuff like that. So, following the best practice architecture, we are strongly segregation of the corporate IT, the product environment, and the TeamViewer connectivity platform in place. This means we keep all servers, networks, and accounts strictly separate to help prevent unauthorized access and lateral movement between the different environments, which is awesome because that means that. So what's cool about a lot of the IT field and stuff like that is when they do this, a lot of it is like you have to remote, or not remote specifically, but in order to access certain parts of the network and stuff like that, you have to have separate accounts, and then you have to have separate entities and all that kind of stuff that's managing all of this, which is good because then that means that any critical, like, major, like, oh shit, this should not be getting out there kind of information is locked away from stuff that should be more, that's a little bit more public, I guess, if that makes sense. So that's awesome because then that means that there's less likeliness of critical information that is much more important to the operations of TeamViewer itself that isn't being getting sent out, which is awesome. What information they took, we'll find out hopefully. The company revealed that the attackers hacked into the systems after obtaining the credentials of a standard employee account that had access to the corporate IT environment. Another thing, this is going to be another thing though. A standard employee had access to the corporate IT environment. So what I don't understand is how a the way they worded standard employee account implies that this person just has access to this level of the field or the environment and stuff like that, that part of their field or part of their job requires them to get into this. But the fact that their credentials were so, I don't know if their credentials is that easy to get into to begin with, but what makes me more curious is to, and this is the things that I don't think they'll ever tell you in a lot of these articles, is how they ended up getting to that point, because obviously a lot of this is going to be hush-hush because they don't want that same issue to happen again by telling people and stuff like that of how they did that and stuff. But at the same time though, I'm curious to see like what it took for them to get that credentials and stuff like that to get to that level and stuff like that, especially with a big group like TeamViewer and stuff. So the hackers leveraged the employee account to copy employee directory data such as names, corporate contact information, and encrypted employee passwords for the internal corporate environment. Encrypted employee passwords. So the term encrypted implies that that the passwords itself are protected using a crypt that is on somewhere else. So like certain encryptions will have a key of sorts that will make it to where that it will decipher the encryption itself to make it to where it's visible to people. The fact that they were gaining access into these encrypted passwords and stuff like that. Now, if they actually were able to utilize these encrypted passwords and stuff like that, that's up for debate. But the fact that even if they're encrypted and stuff like that, there's a high likeliness that they won't be able to utilize them unless they have some way of being able to decrypt that key, finding that key, or finding a way to decrypt it without that key, which is a lot harder than most people think. So this information is pretty critical, but at the same time though, it's looking at it and realizing that this might not be important as much as just the fact that they got names and corporate contact information, which is a bad thing anyways, because that's the more information that they could use for phishing or for password cracking and stuff like that to get access to other people's stuff. The risk associated with the encrypted password contains the directory has been mitigated in collaboration with leading experts from our incident response partner, Microsoft. Ooh, okay. So the risk associated with the encrypted passwords contains the directory has been mitigated in okay, so Microsoft came in and to save the day basically to help out with dealing with the encrypted passwords part, which is good. basically makes it to where those passwords are probably going to just end up being bricks anyways. For the hackers, obviously, unless they're really committed to try and figuring out how they can get that encryption off. And Microsoft's pretty good about their encryption, for the most part anyways. So when the hack came into light, the NCC group reported that an APT was behind the attack, and the United-based Health Information Sharing and Analytics Center issued an alert saying that the Russian-linked ATP-29 was behind the intrusion. So, this is another thing that's been critical, and I think I have an article up here for it too. Yep, I do have it right there. We'll read that one next, because I think that one's probably going to be part of what we're going to be dealing with here. So, ATP-29 is a group just like the same way with the Israelis, where basically their intentions are to just steal as much data as they can from critical areas. And health systems, as of late, have been really getting slammed hard. Because most times a lot of health information and stuff like that is tied to like banking information or just generalized information as far as like stuff that should be public and stuff like that. Obviously, like I would say anything in relation to drugs or anything in relation to like medical procedures and stuff like that you've had in the past. I would say probably health records are one of the biggest, like, I would say health records are probably right up there next to social security cards and right up there next to, like, birth certificates as far as, like, critical information that if hackers get into and stuff like that, they can copy that and they can create, like, false identifications using that information and stuff like that, which is extremely bad. And it just sucks because a lot of these people don't realize that they got hacked until hopefully the hospitals get a hold of them and be like, yo, you know, hey, by the way, this information was cracked, but we're going to offer you like protections and stuff like that to make sure that your identity doesn't get stolen and this, that, and the other. So hopefully anyways, I'm not 100% sure on that. That'll be another thing that I'll probably look up just to make sure that these hospitals or these critical like security firms are basically trying to do their best to help these people who end up getting hacked or getting their information stolen, that they're able to, you know, get this resolved without having any major impacts to them and stuff like that. And I hope nobody does ever has to deal with that because it is a nightmare. TeamViewer has confirmed that it currently attributes the attack to ATP-29, which among many of the others known as Cozy Bear and Midnight Blizzard, which another one that's also up here, I'm pretty sure. Yep, the Midnight Blizzard attack. Midnight Blizzard is also another one that's, and Cozy Bear too. Both these are pretty critical to AP-29 specifically. I think what I'll do, I will also make another note. I want to try to do some research on AP-29 specifically over the last couple months. And I want to deliver some information on that because I think ATP-29 has been like so hot topic and stuff like that, that I think getting more information about this group and stuff like that and getting more people to more aware of what these guys are doing right now is pretty critical and stuff like that. So I'm going to try my best to have that available to you guys by next stream, or hopefully by the time that I'm able to provide it, that I'll be able to give it to you guys. This state-sponsored cyber spy group is known for high-impact attacks targeting important organizations such as Microsoft, which I believe they also, because Cozy Bear itself was an association with Microsoft specifically because of, I think I talked about it the other night, just randomly, but when back in the early part of January, there was a major attack against a lot of Microsoft critical information and stuff that was mostly like old like Microsoft accounts and stuff like that were utilized by, I'm pretty sure it was just mostly IT, but I will look into that a little bit more and just let you guys know. But when it comes to Microsoft stuff, I would strongly suggest, if you are using Microsoft accounts and stuff like that, that you are updating your passwords as much as you can, and please make sure that you're putting passwords that are long and a lot harder to figure out, because I gotta actually make a list because there are a lot of softwares and a lot of websites that are really good ways to kind of get you a gauge as far as like whether your passwords are good or whether you um, what strategies you can utilize to make sure that your passwords and make sure that any account information that you're utilizing and stuff like that isn't going to bite you in the ass. Because what a lot of people will do with their passwords will associate it with something in their past or associate it with some critical or very openly available public information. So let's say, for instance, your password's in association to a dog that you recently just had pass away. You post about it. Now that information is out there in a public entity, and hackers can utilize that. Be like, okay, so what are the odds that that person has that password, has the utilization of that word? So they can put that in their password cracker and just put it anywhere in there, and then they can go ahead and just associate any of their letters and stuff like that, and makes things 1,000 times easier for them. Same way goes with anything as far as like numbers or anything like that that are in association to other things that are public knowledge. Anything that has any ties to like, trying to find the best examples for this. So like PayPal, for instance. Let's say, for instance, your PayPal, you have a password that is in association with the numbers off of your bank card, or you use the couple numbers off your driver's license, or well, that wouldn't be public information. Driver's like a plate number and stuff like that. Like even stuff like that, as stupid as it sounds, can bite you in the ass. And what a lot of hackers will do is utilize this information to better hunt down and try to figure out what your passwords are. So just make sure that you're doing your passwords smart. Don't do anything that's easy to figure out. And please, for the love of God, make sure they're not the same password for every single account. I know it's a pain in the ass. I know it sucks. But the more accounts that you have, the more likely that you'll end up getting hacked. And if you keep the same password for everything, it's going to make it easier for hackers to get into critical information and stuff like that. So just make sure that you have regularly replace your passwords. I would say, for me, I've always done it to where I've at least done it every 3 months. Depends on, actually, it really depends. So like, I'm not going to say what specifically, obviously, because I don't want to dox myself, but for anything like super critical, I always do it at least every once a month. And I revolving door it and stuff like that to a certain degree. Obviously, the bank itself will not ever let you use the same password twice for obvious reasons. So when you end up doing your new password and stuff like that, you have to be very creative, and you have to make sure that the information that you're utilizing is something that is not public information, and also make sure that it's not like something that's going to be really easy to figure out. So, and I talked about it yesterday, but I ended up having a 256 character password that was very long, very arduous, and I did some extra steps to make sure that it was an actual good password. Obviously, I can't use it anywhere now. I was using it as a way to basically play war games when I was in college and stuff like that. Just as a way to basically kind of cock block a lot of people and stuff like that during those, which was not a great way of playing and stuff like that, but you know. Team Bureau has confirmed that 829 appears to be behind the attacks, came just as Microsoft had been alerted for more customers that the group that has stolen their emails as part of the recent campaign. So these emails might actually not be just public; they might be public emails and stuff like that. So please, for the love of God, make sure your passwords are up to date, and make sure, even if you don't have that MSN account or Hotmail account anymore and stuff like that, at least try to change the password on it every now and again. Even though you don't, or if you have it canceled and closed, it shouldn't be that big of an issue, since usually that information gets cleansed out of their systems every now and again. But if it is still active, even though you haven't used it in years, still check on it every now and again, please. Just make sure that you're not leaving open doors for yourself to get hacked and stuff. So that way, then you're safer. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna be able to have the time to do the rest of these tonight. I think I'll save the rest of these for next week. Actually, I might save a couple of these specifically for TikTok and for YouTube Shorts. So this next one, it will be the last one because this one's a very, 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 very important one to talk about. So like I've said before, we've already had a couple major hospital hacks that have had happen in the last couple years, especially since COVID has finally kind of left the realm of social net or whatever. A lot of these hacks are not just outside of the United States; they're happening inside the United States as well, and they are hitting really hard areas and stuff like that of the current hospital infrastructure, which is very weak in a lot of ways. I know a lot of different. Well, this one's not even. Wait, I thought this was supposed to be a full article. Why the? Oh, I thought this was a full article. Fucking motherfucker. I read. Maybe I wasn't reading it right. Actually, I wonder if Ground. So I use Ground News for a lot of my stuff. I'm wondering if. We assigned a media bias rating on lean left. Doesn't tell me how to run on the. Is there really an article on this? Okay. This is the kind of stuff that interests me. It's the fact that there's articles about how all this is going on, but then it's just how do you run on the moon? Humans, I love you all. Wait, what the hell? A hacker who is claimed to have been involved in the attack tells Wired that the hackers, known as Shiny Hunter, stole victims' Snowflake credentials by first breaching an employee of the third-party company. Wait, what? Hackers who stole terabytes of data from Ticketmaster and other customers from the storage firm Snowflake claim they obtained access to some of the Snowflake's accounts by first breaching a Belarusian founded contractor that works with those customers. Oh, and of course it's not going to tell me. Okay, so it was an association of the Ticketmaster data breach, which was also another recent thing, which actually I think I have up here as well. Pretty sure I do. Well, I don't. I'll have to bring back that up as well. So a lot of stuff I'm going to have to do homework on this weekend. But that's fine. It's part of the whole intention of teaching and stuff like that. So, but yeah. So, I'm actually kind of curious about those. Hackers weaponize Screen Connect remote access client to deliver ASYS-RAT. ASYS-RAT. I'm actually a little curious on this. In 2024, Easton True observed multiple instances where end users inadvertently downloaded the Screen Contact remote access client from disciple websites. Another one of those kind of like team viewer, another access point thing. Screen Connects, I think I've heard about in the past. I don't remember what ones I was using when I was in college and stuff like that, just to do random like tests and stuff like that. But I think Screen Connect was one of the ones that were like the cheaper ones that really just nobody realizes and stuff like that is installed even on their computers, or if they do install it, then they don't realize the stuff's on there and it leaves vulnerabilities, etc., etc. Security Connect, legitimate remote access tool, was manipulated by threat actors to gain unauthorized access to user computers. The initial infectation vector was identified as a drive-by download, where users visiting a compromised website were redirected to download a Screen Connect application automatically. One notable case is involved in a user downloading Screen Connect from a compromised WordPress site, which is redirected from that one specifically, and it's not going to let me show the whole thing, but you can see that it chained off. So a lot of these are macroed and stuff like that. These viruses are macroed, and that way then as soon as they have the capabilities of seeing what they need to see, they'll start the process and just get everything installed without people realizing it. So once Screen Connect was launched, it connected to the threat actor's instance, and it connected off of that. This established a remote session, allowing the attacker to drop an executable file that led to the infection of ASYS-RAT, a remote access Trojan. The infection of chain began with the download of an XP file, which is this guy right here. And the thing is here, these names are auto-generated and stuff like that a lot of times by the software itself, just in that way then it's harder to find. So that's why a lot of these names are like that. The file contains a NSIS installer contained an NSI script, embedded AutoIt components, and batch script, which basically is just fancy words of the software itself was smart enough to be able to go to wherever it needed to go and install. The NSI script executed a batch file, which performed several actions to create and manage a malicious AutoIt script, which this is just basically just fancy words for they're going through a lot of stuff. And the computer, the software itself is doing a lot of stuff that it's not supposed to be doing and installing shit that it's not supposed to. The malicious AutoIt script was responsible for decrypting an embedded ASYS-RAT payload via RC4 encryption and injecting it into either regsm or app launch, which app launch is part of Windows. It's a very bad thing for it to get into app launch, because then whenever you're starting up your computer or doing it, it'll auto launch this, and if ASYS-RAT is launched into this, ASYS-RAT will have control over your app launch thing, so in that way then it can do whatever it needs to do. The ASYS Trojan gave the attacker significant control over the compromised system, enabling data theft, system manipulation, and further malware development. So basically, ASYS-RAT basically became the ability to make computers into zombies, effectively, which basically just means that the person doesn't have full control of the computer anymore. The hackers have the capabilities of utilizing their computers to do whatever they want to do with it now, basically, and it's just brain dead and just does whatever. Usually at that point, it's best to keep it off the networks, keep it off everything, and just take it to a local IT, or if you don't have a local IT, try to take it to a computer shop and stuff like that, and just have them not necessarily, they don't need to obviously get into it or remote it or anything into it. They'll be able to physically be able to rip it off of there, usually since it's off of the network. If it's off connection off of the network itself, it won't be able to respond back to its responder. So, and usually the virus is pretty easy to take care of at that point, depending on how embedded it is. It's kind of like basically doing surgery on a person kind of thing, where it's just trying to figure out and trying to ideally, hunt down and locate. Why is my frames keep dropping every now and again still? I apologize. It's still only doing like one or two frame drop, like dropping from 60 to like 57 every now and again. But I think it might be because of my model. No, I think it's just random. Wonder if it'll tell me. Oh, it looks like it's just mostly CPU issues. Okay, that's fine. We'll look at that later. Anyway, sorry. So, and then this is going to be a lot more of like the recommendations for true to the point and stuff like that. There's endpoint detection and response is the EDR. Ensure all devices are protected with EDR solutions to detect and respond for threats in real time. Usually your virus protectors will have that and stuff. If it does not, you can usually look up on your websites and stuff like that to see if your specific virus protector has EDR on it. If it does not have EDR on it, I would strongly recommend finding one that does. It is much more it's much more important to realize that is something that you need to make sure that you have on your virus protectors, because if in the event there's somebody who just luckily has all the information that they need to be able to, not even have to worry about like current issues and stuff like that. Phishing and security awareness training, which is the obvious one, where basically you just need to make sure that, like I've said before, if you know something's like not kosher or anything like that, don't open it. Just delete it. Don't worry about it. If it's something critical and stuff like that or whatever, contact the company that you're dealing with and have them either relaunch or resend the email through a secured email, or make sure that it is the company itself is actually sending in that email and it is legitimate, obviously. Password management, and then this one's going to be another one on the password point. So make sure that your passwords are very strong, very capable, and don't keep the same password to everything. Just never do that. That is terrible. It's a terrible thing to do. You do not want to do that, like, at all whatsoever. And I'm realizing that it is the model. I'm boosting my CPU rating, just going from like 20% to like 50% as soon as I move my hand. Sorry. So yeah, so the big thing here, and this is actually something, this is the kind of article that I like, because then it's like, it's telling you exactly what's wrong, like what was the intention, and of course it doesn't really do a good job of translating what the hell this all means, which I'm hoping that I can find a good way of translating this all out to people and stuff like that in a good way that makes it to where it's still informed, but still able to be recognized and understood. So just make sure that you just follow the steps, make sure that your virus protector is up to date, make sure you're making sure no phishing, don't deal with phishing at all as much as you can. Check your emails, check your messaging and stuff like that. Make sure you're not clicking on links, making sure you're not clicking and downloading shit and all that. And then make sure your password's strong as shit. Other than that, that's pretty much what a lot of virus protectors or a lot of people will advocate for, and will try to make sure that people fully understand, is just to better protect yourself in these times and stuff. So, all right. So we're going to actually go ahead and watch this video. So I'm a very big sucker for, and I think the biggest thing I'm going to do here is I am going to, so this is a documentary created by Windover Productions. I strongly recommend anyone who is looking to do look and research, do documentaries and stuff like that. I strongly recommend Windover Productions. I've been watching them for years now. They are fucking fantastic. They do very well informed information and stuff like that. I will actually link this over into the Twitch VOD. If it'll let me. Hello? Uh-oh. If it's going to let me, or let me just do this instead. Because I think Streamlabs is having issues, which is not a good thing. So let's see here. I will just do this here just for the VOD. There you go. I'm gonna post that for the VODs, and that way, if you guys do want to watch it on your own time, feel free to do it. But we'll be watching it over here. This will probably be the watch it, and we'll call it a night kind of thing. So, let me make sure everything's all nice and turned up here. So,
the world's new era of warfare started here, on the 8th floor of an innocuous office building in Minsk, Belarus. A small antivirus developer based within these walls, Virus Blockada, received an inbound help request. Their client in Iran was experiencing random, repeated reboots of their industrial control computers. It was probably a bug, they thought, a misconfiguration of Windows, or an issue of two programs not playing nice with each other. So they reinstalled Windows, but the issue remained. This upped the stakes. This wasn't some mistake in Windows programming. This was something purposefully malicious. Soon, Sergei Ulasin, the company's researcher, found some suspicious files on the errant machine. As he combed through their code, he made a discovery that shook the world of information security to its core. This code, when placed on a USB drive and plugged into a computer, could silently launch and execute a program simply by being viewed. This was a brand new exploit, a catastrophically capable exploit. All it took was one drive, simply plugged in, to infect one computer. This method of spread was mortifyingly efficient. It was something out of a movie. Recognizing that, the intuitive question was how far it had spread. The answer was chilling. 58%. 58% of devices in Iran were infected with this malicious code. 58% of the country's computers were within the grips of some mystery developer so capable that they had identified an exploit of existential proportions. And what made this ominous envelopment all that much more intimidating was that nobody knew what this code was intended to do. Nobody knew why a high-skilled hacker had spread a groundbreaking worm to 58% of Iran's computers. What became clear far quicker is that Virus Blockada's discovery did not gain prominence for the virus itself. It gained prominence because this small Belarusian antivirus company had discovered that the world had entered a new era. The world had entered the era of highly advanced, highly targeted, and highly capable cyber warfare. This new era was made possible, and perhaps more importantly, made profitable by one single concept: the zero day. You see, in decades past, national intelligence agencies and nefarious independent operatives focused on gathering information in transit. Rather than sneaking into the embassy, you intercepted the courier. Rather than placing a bug in the phone, you tapped the transmission line. It was simply easier to capture information on the move than at its origin or destination. As the digital age awoke, this MO continued, but then the manufacturers caught up. Apple, Microsoft, Google, and others all started encrypting data as soon as it left devices. Shielding information behind complex mathematical systems, encryption, by this time, was, for all practical purposes, perfect. Therefore, the strategies behind digital espionage had to change. The snoops needed a new way to get in. While the math behind encryption may be infallible, people are not. The devices on which data is created and stored, phones, computers, servers, and more, are created by people. Therefore, the devices have holes. These holes are referred to as zero days. Any software has vulnerabilities. Most will be caught before release, some will be caught shortly after and quickly addressed with a patch, but a tiny minority will go unnoticed for weeks, months, or years. In the early 2000s, hobbyist hackers spent their evenings scrolling through code looking for these bugs. Faced with hostility and legal threats when reporting vulnerabilities straight to its software's developers, many would post about their findings on online forums, earning little else than bragging rights. Early information security companies would repackage this information and include it in a digital threat alert system for companies and agencies, notifying them when their software might have holes not yet fixed by the developer. One such company, iDefense, found itself faltering in 2002 as they were selling the same information at the same time to the same customer base. They simply had zero competitive advantage. So, they created one. They decided to start paying for exploits. Hackers would come to them with a bug, and in exchange for their silence, iDefense would pay anywhere between a couple $100 and a couple $1,000. iDefense would then alert the software's developer and its own customers before the competing information security companies could. With the information...
So the thing here, I'm going to pause it here for a second. I'm sure they're going